It was the first time the boy met his classmate's mother. He was immediately captivated by her mature charm. In order to possess her body, he would secretly peek at his classmate's mother sleeping through the crack in the door every night. Whenever he saw the woman with her alluring figure and mature charm, he would involuntarily fantasize about her. Whenever his classmate's mother went out, the boy would muster up his courage and go to her bedroom. He recklessly touched things he could never normally touch. However, just as he was immersed in this and unable to extricate himself, his classmate's mother suddenly returned home early. Panicked, Peter quickly hid by the door. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and the woman did not notice him. Peter breathed a sigh of relief. He cautiously looked at her and saw that his classmate's mother was having a blood transfusion. This blood-pumping scene made him swallow hard. Because the mature charm emanating from the woman made Peter unable to resist having thoughts of Fei every time he saw her. On the contrary, he became even more perverted and wrote down his thoughts and everything he saw. Peter wrote all of these into an essay and handed it in to the teacher as homework. Initially, the teacher was shocked by Peter's unusual behavior. How could a 16-year-old boy have such a rich inner world? Worried that Peter might go astray, the teacher immediately called him over, intending to correct him, because the entire essay revealed a voyeuristic perspective. However, just as the teacher was about to criticize Peter, he suddenly changed his mind and even said he hoped Peter could write down the rest of the story. It turned out that the teacher also had a voyeuristic hobby, but was unable to do so due to his position. After receiving the teacher's approval, it started to get even more outrageous. In order to have a legitimate reason to come to his classmate's house every day, Peter, who had excellent grades, volunteered to help his classmate with his homework. His behavior was well received by the classmate's parents. As a thank you, Rafi's father invited Peter to the living room to watch the football game. However, as soon as Peter sat down on the sofa, his classmate's mother sat down next to him. Looking at her delicate face and perfect figure so close, Peter couldn't help but stare, mesmerized. After writing down everything he saw in his essay, after watching, the teacher couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. For a moment, he felt as if he had entered Peter's perspective and was deeply immersed in the act of voyeurism, unable to extricate himself. In order to continue to gain the teacher's approval, Peter did something even bolder. Blue had also accidentally fallen in love with his classmate's mother. In order to possess his body, he took advantage of the fact that his classmate and father were out and quickly went up to knock on his door. "Hey everyone, Claude, do you want me to call them over?" "No, it's because I forgot my script yesterday." A clever lie allowed him to easily enter his classmate's house. Seeing the woman with her back to him, helping to find her book, he couldn't help but feel a surge of desire. He knew the woman wouldn't find it because he hadn't left the book there. To get closer to his classmate's mother, he lied, saying his own mother also had a child just as funny as him. Using this topic, Peter successfully gained the woman's sympathy. Looking at this classmate who was about the same age as her son, the woman, overflowing with maternal love, couldn't help but start chatting with Peter. They talked about everything from astronomy to geography, and from geography to art. Before she knew it, the woman had developed a strong liking for Peter. She was surprised that a boy who was only 16 years old could be involved in so many different fields. For a moment, she didn't know if her feelings for Peter were liking or love. That night, she kept Peter at her house for a demonstration. And as the night deepened, Peter became even bolder. She secretly peeked through the crack in the door. Peter brazenly admired his classmate's mother, who exuded mature charm. He wrote down everything he saw in an essay and submitted it as homework. Seeing his student's perfect voyeuristic perspective, the teacher couldn't resist sharing the essay with his wife and even coaching Peter on how to improve it. Encouraged by his teacher, Peter became even more unrestrained. Whenever he had time, he would go to his classmate's house to play and secretly observe his classmate's mother's every move, while the woman remained completely unaware of all this. He thought his son's classmate was very innocent, but just as he got up to go back to his room, the apple in his hand accidentally fell to the ground. Peter saw this and subconsciously picked it up, then put it in his mouth without even wiping it. In order to have a closer relationship with the woman, that night, when his classmate's father was not paying attention, he secretly slipped a note to his classmate's mother. The woman did not understand it at first, but the next morning she asked Peter what it meant. It turns out this was actually a veiled love letter. He used poetic writing techniques to express his intense longing for women. This approach had an advantage. If the woman also had feelings for Peter, her goal would be achieved. If she didn't, Peter could say he was just practicing writing, and that all of this was taught to him by his teacher. He fantasized that his teacher was right beside him, explaining the meaning of the poems word by word. But middle-aged women had never seen such a way of expressing their feelings in an instant. The boy was deeply attracted by Peter's charm. He was gazing affectionately at his classmate's mother, and his teacher was right next to them. Seeing this, the two of them started kissing without any restraint. But the teacher, instead of stopping them, wanted to join in. Little did he know that their every move was being watched by a classmate through the crack in the door. The next day, after being violently beaten, Peter knew that he would never be able to go to his classmate's house again. He came to his classmate's mother in a panic and asked him if he could go far away with him. There is always room in the world for the two of them. But what Peter didn't expect was that his classmate's mother had never liked anything he had done before. It was just out of admiration for Peter. He advised Peter to live a good life in the future. If he encounters anything unsatisfactory, he can come to him and talk to him at any time. When the woman said this, Peter finally realized that all of this was just his own selfishness, and the reason why he was in such deep trouble, that it was all the teacher's fault for constantly encouraging him to spy, which made him increasingly resentful. In order to retaliate against everything the teacher had done to him, Peter secretly knocked on the teacher's door while the teacher was teaching at school. The teacher's wife opened the door, and upon seeing Peter, she immediately guessed his intentions. Her husband always shared Peter's writings with her, and she, too, longed to experience that feeling of being spied on. The woman hurriedly invited Peter into the room, intending to discuss the feeling of spying on others with him. Little did she know that her every move was being observed and meticulously written down by Peter. Soon after returning home, Peter wrote an essay detailing how he spied on his teacher's wife. The next day, just as Peter was about to return to his teacher's house, he saw his teacher sitting downstairs at the door. He went to his teacher and shared his experiences of spying and writing, explaining that his visit was actually to say goodbye. He felt that his long-term spying had made him lose himself, and he wanted to leave this painful place and start a new life elsewhere. In the end, the two like-minded people sat in a small park and spied on the residents of the building across the street one last time.